Oh, how are you? Uh, we're going to talk about what you all want to talk about today, which is FMOD and getting FMOD to work for you and how to make your own engine sound. Because that's pretty important. Part of a simulation game is the sound that it makes, and FMOD is an excellent way to recreate sounds in a much easier visual manner than the old way via text. And I'm going to show you how. So let's go over to the desktop and have a look. Now you'll see some windows open here. I'm just kind of trying to get prepared to show you what's happening. So I have my spotlight tool, which I believe is right here. There we go. So you can see right here, this is the template. This is something that's available right here. This file is available through at the SCS wiki. I can leave a link in the description below, so you can get to that easily. Basically, you copy this and then paste it, and then change the name of it and change the inside name of it, such as this. We're going to do the DD60 tonight. So this becomes 3xx.dd60.fspro. You can name it Jim's Engine.fspro. You can name it Billy's Exhaust Noises.fspro. You can name it whatever you want, because it's going to be your engine in the end, really. So let's see how this looks. I have it open here, and it's blank because there's nothing in it. First, we need to add some assets. Assets are the files which you make the sounds from. So here's the assets I converted to WAV earlier today. So I'm going to basically take these and drag them into the assets bin. And then we'll put this back over here. So now we're done with the WAV files. We have those in here. I'm going to tell you a quick thing right now. Before you delete any of the old files, like the sound files that you'll find over here, you want to pick the file you want to work with. In our case, it's the exterior.dd or exterior_dd60.sii. You open that, you're going to find it in here. Now, why do we need this? Well, I'm going to show you after we get started, because it ends up being pretty darn important. So let's get started with adding the sounds. A couple of orders of business first. This is a sample GUIDS file. This is a file that tells the computer, the game itself, where to look for specific files so that it can access them later, and the events that are happening to make those, and the parameters and the events that are going on in order to play it through the buses. An audio bus, not a school bus, okay? Take it easy. These are the things we have to deal with. Events and parameters. You can see they all have kind of a folder structure, similar to a folder structure that you have in SCS files anyway. So it'll all become kind of second hat or old hat once you get used to doing it. Right up here, you'll notice the events. In the very top left of the screen here. And you'll notice banks. And you'll notice assets. So we already put things in the assets here. In the banks, we need to put things in the bank. We need a new bank. This bank is going to be 3xx.d60. Why did we do that? Well, because that's going to be the name of the bank that we're creating. So when you export this file, it's going to be called 3xx.dd60.bank. And then we're going to reference the GUIDS file after that. And I'll show you all that when we're done. So the events. New folder, please. This is going to be engine. New event. New 3D event. These are all three-dimensional events. Three-dimensional events allow you to create sound at a distance and at certain angles around the vehicle. So the engine would be less loud in the rear of the vehicle and more loud in the front if you're outside of it, etc. And as you're further away in general, it will decrease the sound. 2D events do not do that. They are the same volume no matter how far or close you are. Let's see. So our engine is going to be engine. And then we're going to add another event under here. Another 3D, which is going to be exhaust. Or no, excuse me, start bad. Start underscore bad. And let's see, what else? And exhaust. All 3D events. Now it says unassigned. We need to assign them to a bank. Well, that's going to be our DD60 bank we just made. All right. So now we're all sorted out over there in the events section. Now, I can show you the 579. If you want to download the 579, you can do so, as SCS has also put that example on their wiki. This one should not be edited, however. It's not the same as the template. It has its own configuration already set up. So if you export this as it is, it will continue to retain that 579. So it will screw up the 579 sound. So please use the template and then just copy information back and forth. I'm going to do that actually right now, and I'll show you why. Down here, you'll see the Spatial Iser. The Spatial Iser is part of the 3D event tool that allows the specific items to have that three-dimensional sound in the game that they're looking for. Now, these are just, default values, but SCS already has values built in to this. So if we go here, we can see the Spatial Iser over here does not look like the Spatial Iser there. Let's show you that again. See that curvature? It's very sharp. This one is almost linear, right? So what we need to do is, this is pretty handy, is you right click on here, copy properties. And that's as easy as that is. Right click here, copy properties, paste properties. Look at that, changed everything. Even the sound size and the extent, etc. So we just do that for the exhaust as well. And the start bad. And we're done with that. We don't have to do anything else with those properties. The only other thing we have to change is the Doppler effect, which is over here. You'll notice on this side, Doppler needs to be on. And here, Doppler on. And here, Doppler on. All right, now, what's next? Well, we have a couple of things that we need to do. So first of all, we need to create a new parameter. New parameter is going to be a continuous parameter. Name is going to be RPM. 0 to 3000 as the game suggests. Your initial value is 0 because the engine is not starting at 3000 when you turn it on. So now you'll notice up here this graph goes from 0 to 3000. This is 2900, that's 3000 over there. This is where we're going to start putting our files and where they belong. This is going to be the unloaded sounds. And we'll have a bunch more sounds as we go. So, obviously, to start, we're going to have a 500 RPM because that's an idle sound, most likely. Now, how do we know where to put it? Well, you have all that information in this exterior_DD60 file. The pitch preference is going to be 600. The minimum RPM is 350. Max is 920. So we're going to go over here, 350, 920. I'm going to zoom in using the bracket. Right and left bracket are zoom in and zoom out. 350 to 920. Right there. Zoom back out. See where this is. Now, the trick to these is there's two different keys you need to hit down here. Cut and loop. Cut and loop. Loop means that the sound will continuously loop in that location that you've added it. So when we change our RPM, it will continue looping. It doesn't stop after a while. Once you hit cut stops the playback and doesn't restart it if it's continuing on the same thing, so you don't get multiple instances of the same sound over and over again. So when you play it, I'm going to turn this volume down a little bit. When you play it, you get this. And then as you do this, it doesn't change. It's still idling. I wonder why that is. That's because we haven't added auto pitch. Down here, you'll notice the pitch. Right there. When I right click, add modulation, select auto pitch, it opens this over here. I mentioned that the pitch preference was 600. If I go to the root pitch and change that to 0.6, because that's going to be 0.6 thousand, now we can do this. Pretty slick, right? All right. Now, that's one sound out of quite a few over here, as you can see. So let's go through this, and what I'll do is I'll just do it real quick since I've showed you the one, and then when we get to the end, we'll move on to the next thing. So we're on to 1600 RPM now. Drop this in. Check over here. We're looking at 1400 to 2050. So we'll drag this down to 1400 and then up to 2050. Right there. Loop, cut, right click, auto pitch. It's our auto pitch value, 1770. Come on. All right. Now we get 2000. Drop that in. Scroll down here. 1520 to 3100. We only go to 3000, so 15. What did I say? 1520. Okay. Zoom in. All the way up there. Go down here. 2190. So we're going to do loop, cut, auto pitch, 2190. Should never really be up that high anyway, but it's there. All right. Now, this is the tricky part. This part's a little bit different than most of the other stuff, so we got to think about what we want to do. These engines don't have... there's just engine load and engine no fuel. This new system allows for engine load, no fuel, and exhaust. So you can separate the exhaust out entirely, which is pretty cool, but it kind of leaves some difficulties when because you don't really want to double the load value, which is kind of what exhaust sound is a little bit of load, but anyway, you kind of get the point. I haven't exactly narrowed down how I want to make the exhaust noise sound, but once I do, I'll it's always tweaking, you always want to tweak everything out and see where you can get it to. At any rate, so we get our unloaded sounds. So now we're going to go to our loaded sounds. So we're going to add an audio track. So now we'll go down to our exhaust sounds. So first we're going to put the exhaust idle in, which is 670, so 350 to 995. Loop, cut, pitch, auto pitch. What is the value we're looking for? 670. 0.67. So now it's going to sound like this. So at idle, it's going to sound like that as you ramp it up. Now also, in addition, we want to create, we want to be also paying attention to this window as well, sorry, preset browser. We want to create a new folder. This is where I got not lost initially. So I'm going to put RPM under engine, and then we're also going to create a new parameter of load. Or is it loaded? No, just load. Okay. All right. So now what I'm doing here is adding this loaded value here into a sheet, like so. And we'll get to what that means in a little bit. So then we're going to go to 1000 exhaust. We're going to check the file here. This is 715 to 1395. We gotta loop it, cut it, pitch it. Check our auto pitch, 1200, 1210, 1.21. Now it should sound like this. Now what I'm doing here is adding a parameter to the volume based on what the load value is. So we're going to have less sound when it's not loaded. And as we have more and more load applied, we get to the standard value. So that way, when you do this, there's no load applied. But then if I do that, you can hear the loader come into play. All right, now we got that one done. We got 1200 exhaust we need. That is 1150 to 1750. Loop, cut, right click, auto pitch. This is 1200, so it's 1383. 1.383. See, there's no sound because I don't have any load. Now I get some load. All right. Cool. 1600 exhaust. This goes from 1375 to 1930. 1375. Oh, stop. What did I say? 1930. Stop doing that. There we go. Okay. Loop it, cut it. Right click it, auto pitch it. 1720. So 1.72, enter. All right. Excellent. 1800 exhaust. Where does that go? Pray tell. 1715 to 3000. Cut, loop, auto pitch. 1870 is the auto pitch value. 1.8. Why is it doing all kinds of funny things? $18.70. Is that what I said? Yep. All right. All right. We got those done. Now we're down to no fuel. So we add a new audio track. No fuel. Now, no fuel is going to be automated volume curvature of RPM. We can look on this one. There's no fuel value, so that's good. I'm doing something right. So in the case of all of Kriechbaum's no fuels, they were usually lever le pied, which translates loosely to lifting the foot. We got to check what value these are. So we're going to go to, where did that end up? I think it's up here further. There it is. 750 to 3100. So 750. And then we do this on solo. We loop it, cut it, pitch it. 1440. 1.44. So now we should get this. Now it doesn't necessarily mean that should be. We can do it like that. So now if we do this, all right, so that's that value. And again, you can always cross-reference here. So you can look at your RPM and see no fuel. So they have all their no fuels marked here where they all fit in. And it looks like theirs starts ramping down around 600. So maybe I should edit mine a bit to correspond to that. So you can always change anything you want, which is why it's nice to have a kind of master file of everything that's going on. So once it gets to 600, they start dropping it. All right. Turn that off solo. That's on there. Perfect. Okay. Now, and you can change the colors like they do too. So you know what's what. Green for no fuel, light blue front loaded, whatever you want. You just have to go in and edit each individual one. Okay. Now we got to do turbo. Now turbo's different because it's going to have its own data sheet, which is, you can see it's here, but there's nothing here. So you're creating a new parameter for it because the turbo is up here. And I'll show you what that means in a second. It's going to new parameter. Okay. Under engine, new parameter called turbo. 0 to 1. I'm going to add a new track. Turbo. Now this is going to be automated volume according to shocker, the turbo curve. And you can make this any kind of curve you want. really. Do you get full turbo whistle like really close to the top, or do you wait until it's, you know what I mean? Is it a curvature like this? Is it more linear? How do you want it? It's all up to you. Now we're going to take our turbo sound, drop it there. It's got to go the whole distance of that guy. So we're going to play this on solo. We want maximum turbo. We also have to put it on loop and cut. So if I do full turbo, it's pretty loud, and then as I go down, it's gone. So do I want it that loud at the top? Do I want to drop this down like this? Drop this down a little bit. That's all right, I think. So now when you get the full boat going, you can go back over here to RPM, turn off solo. We'll mute no fuel, turn up the load, turn up the turbo to full bore, go to like 1200 RPM. And that's your preference. Turbo might be a little too loud. You can drop this down at that level, whatever you want to do. So there's that. Then we got to do a break. And engine brake is on the RPM page as well because it is associated with the RPM. So we're going to do add audio, engine brake. Almost spelled it wrong. Okay. Now you notice up here there's brake and this brake here. So what do we have to do? We gotta add a new parameter under engine. Brake. So we're gonna automate the volume. Add a curve dependent on brake. And you're thinking to yourself, why are some things dependent on other things and some things are dependent on themselves? Well, in the game, you have a button for the brake, and you have a dial or a selection value of 3, 2, 1 number of brake level, like, not brake, well, it is engine brake levels, so like 3 is the maximum, 1 is the minimum. So as you turn that up and down, this brake 0 to 1 changes, right? So 0 is no engine brake, 1 is full, which would be in our case 3. And then as you go down, it's going to do the other 2 clicks. You know, so 66 and then 33 and then off. So that's why it's associated with itself. It doesn't have an RPM value that it needs to change its whether it's working or not. The RPM only designates what it sounds like. So that's why we put the file itself on this page. Now we have 2 engine brakes, so I want to see what they sound like. So I'm going to solo this. We'll loop and cut. I don't need any of these up, but I do need the Jake up. Okay, so that's that one. What's this one? All right, so what does this look like in here? Okay, so he's got two values. So engine brake 2 is going to be on the high end. Engine brake external is going to be on the low end. So this one, 750 to 2080. And I'm actually going to drag it all the way down, I think. 750 to 2080. Is that what I just read? Yes. And then this one is 1620 to 3300. Or in our case, 3000. So let's nail this down. $2080 is there. Right on the mark there, perfect. Now what I did there is I reduced the volume as it goes down, because you're not going to hear it when the engine stopped, essentially. There's also another way we can do that. You can do that on the timeline. You can change what the engine brake sounds like. So now we get the brake on full. Let's see what it sounds like. Forgot to put it on loop and cut. That one's on loop and cut. Okay, so we just have to change the pitch on both of these. So we're going to do the engine brake external first, which is 1575. Okay, and this one is going to be 1945. So now what does it sound like? So you hit that Jake. Okay, so we get that done. Take that off solo, turn our brake off. Because now when the brake's off and we press play, we have to get the engine. Now we get the brake. So we get all those things. Let's check our reference file. We got start stop left. All right. So let's do that. Start stop is a tricky one. So be prepared for this. New audio track. Start stop. Engine on. I didn't even put it in the right place. We gotta put it on the timeline, is what we gotta do. Engine on, engine off. What do these sound like? All right. So, how do we get them? How do we make this function like it's supposed to? Well, first, so this one goes to 3. Right there. So I'm going to add a loop. Call it loop. Check its properties. It's looping. Okay. We're going to add a command. Command is to stop the target. We have to stop the target engine. So we want the engine to stop working. And then up here, in the beginning of the file, we want to create a transition to region loop. Now, add condition, browse. We're creating a new parameter called play. Now, the range is 0 to 1. The initial value is 1, not 0. So what we do is we take this and we drag this over here to about 15 seconds. And then we go to this position to our parameter condition and go the other way, about 0.85 on that direction. So now let's stop this. We'll bring this over here. That one should go that way. This one should go this way. Okay, so that's play. This one should be the other way. Okay. So this is the part that fouls me up most of the time. So essentially what we're using here, I'll stop this. So when you're in the game and you press E, that's play. So play is when you press E, that's going to be the one value to make it start the engine. So when I press play like this, I've pressed E in the game, and now it's looping. So forever while you're playing and you're driving down the road, all of the engine noises are taking place in that single loop on these pages. It's kind of confusing when you, like, until you kind of think about what's exactly happening. It's just sitting there looping and waiting for you to press E again for the 0 value. Once you press E again, which essentially is taking this value play up here and reducing it to nothing, it shuts the engine off. It initiates that engine off sequence. So if I put this back up to 1, start the engine. Now all of our normal game sounds are happening, and now we've stopped at the destination. And this command over here is for the game. It tells the game to stop the engine from functioning. So that's how the start-stop situation works. The other tricky part is now, if you notice this, on their timeline for SCS, if you break down like this, it's got a curvature here because this is where all the sound is taking place. So if you didn't have this curvature here and it was a flat line, when you press E, the engine would already be running. It wouldn't have the start sound, or the start sound would be behind it. So you have to modify your curve on your thing. The nice thing is you can copy their curve and go over here to yours on the timeline and drop your curve in. Well, look, we got to move this all the way over here. So we got to take a box, select all that, and then drag it over here. And you can see their area is much wider. Or our area is much wider, pardon me. So you just kind of have to listen for it and see how it sounds. And I'll show you that right now. I've got my load, turbo, brake, play down. Okay, here we go. So we gotta go. Start this over here. Oh, that's only on the load. Automation. Okay. Copy this, paste it. Now we should be getting somewhere here. Okay, let's try this again. Stop. So we're going to have to adjust that. This is supposed to be lower. 60. Yeah. So we got to bring these values over here a little bit. So let's stop it. Still bring it over more. So this is all personal preference on how it sounds. So let me just take this, copy this curve, paste it, paste it, paste it. So that doesn't sound too bad. Now we gotta do the stopping part. Let's see how that sounds. So we drop it to 0. So that's not bad. Copy that, paste, 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 paste. All right, so we got our sounds looking good there. Now we just have to go to our start bad. And the start bad's pretty straightforward because all you do is you take this and you drop it there and put it to the front. And we don't need to loop these because they're not playing multiple times. Same with the other starting things there as well. You don't need the off to loop or the engine on to loop. So we have all those things available to us. Now we got to do the exhaust. This one, there's a couple of different things you can do in here. So here we're going to create a new folder called exhaust. New parameter RPM, 0 to 3000. New parameter load. Pretty sure that's what that said. Yep, and then play. New parameter under exhaust. Play. 0 to 1. Initial value 1. Okay. Timeline. It's going to be exhaust. Now, I don't usually put anything in here because the exhaust is already on the loaded portion. In this case, you can do more things if you want, so you can always make it sound like it's loaded by putting the exhaust value in here. I just have decided not to because it kind of doesn't really work for what we're doing, if you get what I mean. We still have to create this curve in the exhaust portion. So if I go here and I go to, if I go here and then copy that so it ends at 4 seconds. So it's going to be somewhere around here. Okay. And then I have to copy the other thing over here. Adding the conditions again to play. It's funny, it's already got the condition in it. What am I doing? It's got the condition. All right. So yeah, so you can add your RPM value in here. Like I said, I don't have it added because there's no point really, because these engines don't have loaded values. And these all have audio. Again, we don't have anything in here, but you would put a curvature in here because you're not going to hear the RPMs below 100 anyway, so they just drop it off. You need to add this curvature in here, so when the engine starts, it's the same as when it starts over here in the engine portion. So then we want to go through here and we want to make sure that in our presets we have all these things that are the same between the two. So in this case, the Peterbilt 579, we have brake, load, play, RPM, turbo. In ours, we have brake, load, RPM, turbo, play. RPM, load, play. Then we're going to check this one. RPM, load, play. So we have all those ready to go. Both situations look the same. So now we're ready to export this. So what we do here is we take this, we're going to save it first. We're going to go over to the engine, make sure everything looks kosher there. You can retest anything from here if you want. Listen to the brake, listen to the engine starting, etc., etc. But like I said, it looks like we got everything situated that we need. The only other thing we have to do is deal with the mixer routing. Now these are just sitting out here in no man's land. So the engine needs to go into the truck engine. The engine exhaust needs to go in the truck exhaust, and the engine start bad needs to go in the truck engine. This is extremely important, this mixer routing page. So that's window, mixer routing. This will bring up the screen. If you do not put these in here, your game will crash because the game is looking for sounds to be in here and there are none. Because you're not pushing those sounds into the correct bus. Save again. Now, build. Export GUIDS. So that's going to export it to this folder, 3xx.dd60. Here's our FS profile. We get our build here. Again, that was in the build right here, right there. Now it says GUIDS.text. Well, you need to rename this, and it's going to have the name 3xx.dd60.bank.guids. Delete, 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 delete. It is not a text file. It is a .guids file. Enter. Okay. You do not need these. Do not copy them over, please. Do not copy the master bank over. You will have a very bad time. Copy. We're going to put these into our build of the latest version of Project 3XX. So we're going to jump right in here. We're going to paste them right here. As you can see, I've got the 3406, the M11, which is the first one I did. And now we've just completed the DD60. So let's zip this thing up and see if I know what the hell I'm doing. I hope this was informative enough for you guys. You know, adding your own sounds and kind of mixing the sounds all together is really personal preference at this point. We're going to copy that, or cut it rather, and I will drop it into the correct folder, which is here. And we're going to replace that file. Ooh, you know what I didn't do? What do you think we have to do with the sounds? Well, I'll tell you what we have to do with the sounds. We got to go into our engines that we want this sound to be in, which are going to be these three here. And we're going to open them with Notepad. And then, look at this. 3xx.dd60.bank. Right? That's what we're doing. Copy. Then we're going to paste it in there. And then we're going to paste this one in here. And then we're going to profit. Then we're going to zip it up. Notice I still did not compress. I did not compress. All right, let's open that. I look awfully washed out. Oh, look at that. Now I'm looking good. All right, let's do this and that. We're almost done. Almost done. Okay, so we're going to drive, and I think I left it at the garage so we can easily check on stuff. Look at that. Perfect. Truck config. Where's my DD? Where's my DD? Detroit Series 60. I saw one. 515. We can do a 515. That sounds good. Now, it hasn't crashed yet, so that's a good start. So the engine brake, it looks like, is not functioning correctly. So that might just be a volume issue, which is entirely possible. At any rate, the engine is in there, which is pretty cool. So now we can go back and listen and check and see if our brake is functioning as it's supposed to. Up because the volume might be the engine's pretty loud in general, so we might have to jack the engine brake up to get it to be noticed a bit more. But at any rate, that is the complete process, other than changing things from OGG to wave. Otherwise, you've just created your first FMOD engine sound. Congratulations. We'll see you next time for the next tutorial for half-fast gaming. See you later, guys.